All right, guys. So this is just a little playthrough for Group 1's example and Group 2's example. Group 1's example for this week was a 16th note hi-hat groove that is a little bit unique in that you don't hit the snare drum on beat 2. You hit it on the the ah of 1. Okay, just like that. 1 E and then you have the ah of 2 and 1 of beat 3 on the bass drum. And then you have the snare drum on beat 4. So, bass drum on beat 1, snare drum hit on the ah of 1, okay? Not the and, the ah, okay? And then ah of 2 and beat 3 on the bass drum, and then snare on beat 4. And you have the uploads of the drum music up there to follow with this example. This is Group 1. Okay, any further questions on that, please make sure to ask and I will help you out for sure. Group number 2. So what we did with you're the beginner group, what we did is we added a second eighth note on beat 3 because if you remember our first groove from the other week was just the cat and mouse. Bass, snare, bass, snare, bass, snare, bass, snare. And then eighth notes on the hi-hat. So it gave you so you had a drum on each of the quarter notes. Bass drum on 1, snare on 2, bass drum on 3, snare on 4. So now what we're trying to do is add an eighth note to beat 3, changing the groove ever so slightly. When you do that, because when I said when you take a quarter note and you cut it in half, you get 2 eighth notes. Each one is equal to a half, so it takes 2 eighth notes to equal 1 quarter. So in this case, when you're counting, make sure that you count the ands. That way you know where to drop that bass drum hit on the and of 3. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 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 So the trick now is to get our snare drum in there. Eighth notes on the hi-hat should not be too tough at this point, but if you are struggling, I suggest starting out your groove with the hi-hat. But if it's going a little bit easier for you, we can do it this way. Make sure that you're counting just like we just did, and we're going to add that extra eighth note on beat 3. 1, 2, here we go. And if you weren't able to go beyond that, that is very acceptable for learning how to put a groove together between your bass drum and snare drum. Okay, that's what we're looking for as far as what you're able to do. Some people this comes naturally to, and that's cool. So don't forget the eighth notes on the hi-hat is the last part of the groove. So if you have 2 out of the 3 elements going good, the main groove, you're good to go. 3 out of 3, awesome. So this time we're going to start off with the 8th notes on the hi-hat and the bass drum groove, and then we'll slip in the snare. Okay? 1, 2, here we go. And 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, snare, drum, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. 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 Alrighty. Make sure that you read the drum music in front of you, the tablature, and follow along with the video. You'll know you're doing it right because this is all just rhythm. It's not pitches like the steel drums. So, all right. See you in the next video.